Hey, and welcome back. So today we are going to talk about your weight loss results. And we are going to talk about a phrase that I believe was meant to spur us on, a phrase of words that was meant to encourage us, but instead, most of us, and I was like so guilty of this, I did this for a very long time. You know, I was a weight loss failure for more than a decade, which means I would try to lose weight. And even when I did lose some weight, I would still wind up right back at morbidly freaking obese. Like even if I went and lost 5 or 10 pounds or 50 or 60, I would always go find them again. Have you ever done that? Like you went and lost them and then those suckers, like you found them and they brought a couple buddies with them. Like if I ever lost 10 pounds, I would always like gain that back plus a couple. Anyway, so frustrating. But this phrase wasn't something I ever used to spur myself on. It was something I actually used as a weapon against myself. To keep me stuck. Like, do you ever, like I have been guilty in the past of self-sabotage, like sabotaging my success, doing things to enable my bad behavior, giving myself permission to stay stuck exactly where I am. Even though I am also that person that's like, no, I want to lose weight. I don't want to stay stuck. I want to be able to wear normal clothes. And then I go drive through the McDonald's drive-thru. Like I would say one thing and then do a freak another. So frustrating. Anyway, so by the way, if you are new here, or if you are not new here, welcome. If you have not hit that subscribe button, make sure to do that. When you hit it, when you subscribe, it turns from red to gray. Ring the bell, the notification bell. That way you don't miss any of our videos here on the channel. We do upload 4 times a week. Yeah. And it's all really good stuff. Listen, losing weight is simple, but it's hard work. And I wish that when I was losing weight, like I would listen to certain things on YouTube, podcasts. And one of the things I always searched for was somebody who was morbidly obese, like I was, topped the scale at 288 pounds, a size 22, and someone that had crossed over and like went the full way. And it's a very hard thing to find somebody who's done that. And then to find somebody who's done that, that's willing just to be an open book and say, hey, here's what I did. Here's how to do it. Here's where I struggled. Here's where I messed up. Here were my whatevers. And so if you've ever had a weight issue, we talk about stuff here on the channel that is applicable to you, your weight loss, not only losing it, but maintaining it. And we are live every single Tuesday night, just like we are tonight. So whether you're watching live or the recording. Anyway, so we're going to talk about the phrase tonight, what if? What if? And again, I truly believe with everything in me, that phrase, it was designed to be a phrase of hope, a phrase of inspiration, a phrase that would spur us on. But instead, for a lot of us, we have taken that phrase, what if, and I'm going to give you several examples tonight. What if, or we're at whatever time it is when you're watching this, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever. What if, I'm going to give you some examples of how we've taken that phrase, what if, and we've weaponized it and we use it to keep ourselves stuck. We use it to stay in a place that we claim we don't want to be, but yet we continue to stay there. All right, so obviously we're going to talk about weight loss, because that's what I'm here to talk about. But this really applies to anything in life. It applies to parenting. It applies to any area that you want to be unusually successful, whether that's parenting, finances, marriage, grooming your kids to succeed, thriving in this current crazy economy we're living in. This applies to every area of success inside of our lives. We're going to specifically talk about how it applies to weight loss, but really you can apply it to everything in your life that you want to succeed at, this one phrase. So what if? And I, as a current health coach today, somebody who coaches men and women through losing weight, through their excuses, through emotional eating. And listen, I have a built-in BSO meter. Why? Because I've been there. Like, I was morbidly obese for a very long time. I was an emotional eater for a very long time. I was a secret eater for a very long time. And so you can't, like, you ever heard the saying, you can't BS a BSer? Like, yeah. So when I work with my clients and they try to tell me things, my little BS meter is like, why? Because been there, done that. It's like when your kids try to pull one over on you and you're like, yeah, dude, I tried that when I was your age. Nice try. Get back to work. All right, so I hear this from clients all the time, and it's something that I used to do. I'm able to help them navigate or steer around it if they choose to, or, because we all get to choose whether something keeps us stuck or whether we navigate around it and steer around the obstacle. All right, so what if? What if? And then we're going to talk about, so I'm going to give you some areas that I think we use this to keep ourselves stuck. And then I'm at the end going to talk about how I believe it's supposed to be used to have crazy, radical, unbelievable, jaw-dropping, inspiring, light on a hill success. So make sure you don't cut out early because you don't want to miss like the best part, in my opinion. All right. So what if? What if? Carmen, I'm sitting here watching and I get it. I hear you. Like you said, you used to be 288 pounds, a size 22, morbidly obese, and you crossed the train tracks and you went from a size 22 to a size 2 and fit and healthy and yada, yada, yada. But you don't understand. Like, I have been trying for a really hard time. And what if? What if I believe again that I can succeed? What if I try again and I fail? There's this belief out there that if you don't get excited about succeeding, then you won't be let down when you fail. And I can understand the thought process behind that thought, but what I'm here to tell you is that doesn't work. Like, even if, no matter how excited you were or you weren't before you fail, I don't know of any failure that I've ever had that I wasn't disappointed, that I wasn't let down, that I didn't go, oh, dang it. None. So no matter, so sitting here, when you are sitting there saying, what if I fail again? What you're currently doing is you are watering. There's a saying that says, what you feed will flourish and what you starve will die. Outside of my house, this year we grew all different kinds of plants. We grew tomato plants. We always grow basil and oregano and thyme. We have fruit trees. We have a pepper plant. We have dill. And around those plants always comes weeds. Now, this year have been watering my plants and pulling the weeds. So what's happened is the weeds die because I pull them up or spray Roundup on them, and the plants grow. They've gotten bigger. My tomato plants are taller than I am. My basil is out of freaking control, like producing more basil than one small village could ever use in an entire year. It's ridiculous. Basil is like a beast. Basil is like the beast of plants. Like, you plant a couple little seeds and poof, it's like, anyway, enough for a whole town. But if I were to reverse that, and I was going outside and I stopped watering my plants and I was just watering the weeds, what would happen? Well, my tomato plants would die and I would have a crop of weeds. Why? Because when I water the weeds, they grow. When I don't water my plants, they don't grow. So what we do is we run around watering our fears. We run around watering all the negative what ifs. And so we're watering the weeds that we don't want. We're giving attention to the things we don't want, which is failure, but yet we are starving what we do want, which is success, results, weight loss. And so what if I fail again? That in itself that statement is based in fear. It's based on focusing in the past. It's based on your past mistakes, your past failures. Your past failures are a part of success. So all those previous failures have equipped you, made you wiser, made you smarter, made you more equipped to deal with the future success. So what if you fail again? Listen, I can't tell you that the next time you try is going to be your home run. I can't sit here in all honesty and tell you that. Why? Because I don't know when you're going to get in the batter's box and hit the home run. I failed so many times at weight loss. And 6.5 years ago, when, after that Tuesday night of the ugly cry at the table, just having a second baby, reading a statistic that linked morbidly obesity from parents to kids, and the last thing I wanted was to set my kids up to have a weight issue. That night, that Tuesday night, I made the decision, enough is enough, let's go. I gotta do this. But if I'm being honest, I had made that decision before. I had decided before, that's it. I don't want to be fluffy. Let's freaking do something about it. I had made that decision before, got all excited, did good for a day or two, and then quit. However, all those times that I quit, that I failed, that it didn't work, that I didn't work, all those times equipped me, strengthened me, prepared me for that night in 2000 and what the heck year? 2014. What year was it? In 2014. It prepared me for that time when I picked myself back up, got back in the batter's box. Now, can I just tell you, if I wouldn't have tried, if I would have sat there and said, well, I could try, but what if I fail? I could try, but what if this time is like all the previous times? Knowing that it could be. Fear and faith can't coexist. You got to pick one. You can't go north and south at the same time. You can't look forwards and backwards at the same time. You got to pick one. And so I'm going to tell you that when you're saying, what if I fail? What if you do? Who cares? Do you have the mentality that I will fail forward? And failing forward doesn't mean you don't fail. It means you keep failing until you figure it out and you eventually succeed. So do you have the mentality, I'm going to fail until? Or are you the person that I used to be that was like, you fail, you go home, you lick your wounds, and then eventually you start creeping back in and you're like, well, maybe. And then your past failures have left you going in half-hearted and then with a bunch of freaking what ifs. But when you're so what if you try again? And what if you do fail? Again, my answer is so freaking what? What if? What if? What if you do? Eventually, the only way you're going to stay failing is if you quit, if you stop trying. That's the truth. Success is on the other side of your failures if you just keep going. People that have succeeded in large have just failed more than those who haven't. Period. When you look at those people that are like uber duper successful that have had, it's so funny. I was in a conversation a couple years back and someone was talking about Justin Bieber and love the guy, hate the guy. I don't really care what you think about him. I'm not talking about him as a person, whether you agree with his decisions, but the conversation was talking about how he was a fast success. And I'm listening to this conversation and I had happened to know that was not true. I had watched a documentary on him and watched him from a little kid get rejected and work on his craft and had a work ethic that most adults don't even have as a child. That dude succeeded despite his failures, despite people telling him he couldn't do it, despite radio stations turning him down, despite producers telling him there wasn't a place for his music and they couldn't see him selling tickets. Crazy. If he would have been looking at his next appointment and said, I don't know, man, we shouldn't show up at that radio station because what if they tell me my music's not good enough? What if they tell me I don't have a place? What if they tell me I'm not going to sell records and I can't fill stadiums? And what if? He had enough failures, but he kept pushing through. He kept going. All right. Next one. We use what if. Carmen, gosh, I've spent you don't know how much money I've spent. I've spent so much money on weight loss, gym memberships, shakes, pills, detoxes, and they didn't work, or I didn't work. So what if I spend money again and it doesn't work? Like, I don't want to waste money, and I want to be financially responsible. I don't have the money to waste, whatever it is. I understand. Like, I was so that person, and this was so one of mine. Like, I had DVDs that were still in the wrapper. I had shakes that I had purchased that expired because I didn't like the taste and I didn't drink them. I had detoxes that I had purchased and started and never finished. I had weight loss books, DVDs, subscriptions, whatever. I did it all too. And 6 years ago, I again had that thought of, I had become a freebie seeker. And so after I had spent all the money and it didn't work, then I went from I'll spend the money to I'm not spending any money. I'll find everything that's free and I'll see if that works. Well, you can guess how well that worked out. It didn't, because again, that what if was based in fear. And fear and faith can't coexist. That was based in me looking back at all my past failures. And you can't go forwards when you're constantly looking backwards. You're not going to succeed at something when you believe you're going to fail. There's a difference in believing you're going to fail and you're destined to fail and failing. When you believe that you are destined to fail, every time you fail, you're like, see, there we go again. I knew this was going to happen. Versus when you know failure is a part of success, then it's just like, hey, another failure checked off my list. I know now that I'm closer to my goal than I was before this failure. And so I just, I had been in business for several years, and I had to start borrowing some of my principles from business. And I knew that making an investment was part of success. And that if I expected to have success without being willing to make an investment was a pipe dream. It was silly. It was being short-sighted. It was having a poverty mindset, not willing to give before I get. Most people run around expecting to get without being willing to give anything. And that's just not how the world works. And so anyway, we actually have one of our upcoming lives where I'm going to be talking about the cost. Is it better to, pay to lose weight or look for the free things? And because I've done both. And so maybe watching for that. I think that's next week's, our next Tuesday nights, we're going to be talking about that exact same thing. So again, if you knew you couldn't fail, if you knew that what you were going to invest into, if you knew you were going to pay this money and it was going to work, would you do it? The answer is yes. The answer is for most of us, there's not an amount we wouldn't pay if we knew that it was going to work. So again, this what if I spend the money and it doesn't work? People pay to go to college, and college is an education, and that college guarantees you nothing but an education. And the education that they give you then equips you to go out and have success. Well, failure is also an education. And most of us actually learn more from failure than we will ever learn from a textbook. We learn more from failing than we will ever learn from a class over the internet, virtual learning, or on a campus, whatever it is that you're doing. So when you spend that money and you fail, and you use that failure to help you succeed in the future, listen, I lost 161 pounds in 13 months. I went from a size 22 down to a size 2. I've actually maintained it for almost 6 years. I've maintained my size, even through popping out a third child, getting pregnant, blowing up, getting back down to all my clothes, my pre-pregnancy weight. So all those failures that I spent money on, that wasn't a waste. I got an education from those failures. And I'm using what I learned from those failures to help me succeed today. Those failures have more than made me back the money that I spent on them. Is the truth of the matter, is the fact of the matter. So what if you spend money again? And let me ask you, who's in control of the money that you spend and if it works? Because this was something that I had to realize, like I had to detach my emotions because, you know, weight loss can be very emotional. And most of us have all these emotions like wrapped up into weight loss, wrapped up into our size, wrapped up into the number on the scale. It's just a very emotional thing. We live in a cruel, cruel world where we are judged by our size. Some of us are ridiculed or made fun of, or snide comments have been made about our size. And so I get that it's a very emotional, our weight is a very emotional thing. Sorry, these leggings are like, okay. Anyway. Oh my goodness. But when it comes to, I don't want to spend any money because I'm not going to fail. Or I might fail. Or what if I fail? Again, what if you do? Then you just got an education on it that prepared you for your future success. And again, I'm going to combat all of these and go to the other side here in just a second. Oh, Carmen, you know, I know that you're a fan of combining fitness with nutrition. But, you know, I had this knee replacement thing, and I have a bad hip and a bad sciatica and my wrist, and, you know, I don't have any space to work out. And what if I get started and I just don't like working out? What if that? What if I don't like the workouts? What if I don't like the shake? What if I don't like a supplement? What if I don't like vegetables? What if I am a meat and potatoes kind of girl and 70 different superfoods? I just, you know, I can't, you know. Get it? Again, I used to believe those healthy, you know, shake pounding, pill popping, apple core eating, Cliff Bar loving people were those special people that came right from God, and I just was not one of them. I was not an overweight person that loved healthy food. I was an overweight person that loved brownies, Little Debbie's, cheesecake, potato chips, nachos with all the toppings, Big Mac, bacon double cheeseburger. Like, I loved those foods. I could eat healthy foods, but I didn't crave them. I didn't love them. Okay? So what if you were in the jungle starving? And the only, listen, I have seen people on some of those shows, like, you know, shows where they're like battling it out and they haven't eaten and they're having to go forage for their food and hunt for their food. I have seen vegetarians, I have seen vegans licking the bones of a frog because they're that hungry. All right. When you change the position food holds in your life, and it goes from being an emotional crutch, a support, your therapist, what makes you feel good, how you cope with certain things, when you change what food is to you, when you change the relationship that you have with food, and it goes from being all those things I just said to being fuel, to being a vehicle you're using to get you to a certain goal. Okay? You completely change the relationship. And when you change the relationship and how you view the food, you change how you think about the food. And when you change how you think about the food, you don't have all these what ifs when it comes to what you're willing to eat and what you're not. I finally got to the point of when I got started with 6.5 years ago. The guy that I was talking to at the time about this, he had lost a ton of weight using these products. And I was like, oh, you drink a shake every day? And he's like, yeah. And I said, well, tell me about that shake. And he's like, well, it's got all these nutrients in it so that as you're losing weight, it's going to help with loose skin. It's going to help with your teeth, your hair. It's going to reduce your cravings. And I wanted all those benefits, but I didn't want to drink a shake. A, I didn't want to pay for the shake. And B, I had never had a shake I liked. And all I kept hearing was 70 superfoods. I'm envisioning a salad shooter put into this shake, and it's like I'm drinking disgusting whatever. And it finally just got to the point where I had to ask myself, Carmen, like, look myself in the mirror, have a come to Jesus meeting and say, how bad do you want this? Are you a bunch of talk, or are you actually gonna walk the walk? What you gonna do, homie? What you gonna do, homegirl? and I wanted the results. I was sick of being all talk. I wanted to be someone whose walk matched my talk. And I hadn't been for a very long time. So I was like, okay, I'm going to order this shake. And like, I don't care if I have to plug my nose and choke it down. If it's going to help me get to my goal, dag nabbit, I'm going to do it. All those negative what ifs no longer got a vote. And I will tell you, using what if, weaponizing it as a weapon against us is a habit. It is a habit. It is a negative way of thinking. And most of us have been trained. Look, it's not your fault. If you do this, and this is a habit of yours, part of that reason is because you have been trained to have this as a habit by those people around you, by the media, by the TV, by friends, by family, by all those things. Being negative is a habit, just like being positive is a habit. The glass is half empty versus the glass is half full. Because here's my question. What if you actually found the courage? What if you were brave enough? What if you took a chance on yourself and it paid off bigger than you ever could expect? What if you started again, even though you've had years or decades, for some of us, of failure? And this was the time you crossed over the train tracks and you went from struggling and striving to succeeding wildly. What if you became that fit person that you judged? That was me. What if you became the person that everybody else was accusing of photoshopping? What if your before and after was so shocking that when people looked at it, they went, nope, can't be the same person. Gotta be Photoshopped. No way. Their nose even looks different. I've had people tell me, Carmen, there's no way that's the same person on my before and afters, because in my before and afters, my eyes look so much bigger. Why? Because my face was fluffy and it made my eyes look like I was squinting in almost all my photos, even though I wasn't. Why? Because when you smile and you're fluffy, your eyes don't get bigger. The fluff around your eyes squishes them down. True story. And I always joke. I'm like, yeah, after losing a person, after losing 161 pounds, I had eye enlargement surgery. People are like, wait, what? I'm just joking. I didn't. But when the fluff left my face, my eyes just looked bigger. What if your before and after, what if your weight loss story was so significant that it inspired your loved ones around you, that if you could do it, they could do it? Like my mom, who watched me, like she has seen me every size of my life. She's watched me struggle with my weight my entire life. Who followed in my footsteps and wound up losing 140 some pounds in just over a year. Went from being on the sidelines, struggling with her health in every area, cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, IBS, to being the healthiest I've ever seen her. To being a grandma who can roll on the floor with her grandkids, who's completely off all of her diabetes medicine. What if you have failed all this time for such a time as this, for a reason, and it has equipped you to succeed wildly beyond anything you ever thought of, dreamed, or imagined? I thought on the other side of my what ifs and my weight loss was just feeling better. What was on the other side of it was winning over $100,000. My picture being seen by hundreds of thousands of eyeballs across the US, being in front of producers of major TV shows, magazines, being able to work with some of the biggest minds in fitness. That's what was on the other side, inspiring my kids of this is what it can follow: persistence and commitment and hard work, and letting them be able to see that up front and close and personal, instead of hearing about it through a movie. I could go on and on of what was on the other side of my what if big, my what if positive, instead of my what if negative. So I want to ask you, what's on the other side if you're dreaming big? And if this was a Disney movie, What would be on the other side of your what if? And I want to challenge you to stop living in your what if, my what if, and start living in your what freaking if. Because there's two sides to one if. There's two sides to what if. And if you're watching this video, chances are you're like me and you've been living and stuck in that what if instead of in this what if over here. And so anyway, thank you so much for watching. Yeah, let me know in the comments, as always, if you have any questions. And make sure to go check out some of our other videos. I know a lot of times when I start talking about results, one of the questions I always get is about weighing yourself. So in the description box, I will link a video where I talk about how often I weigh myself, what I have my clients do, what I recommend. So make sure to check that